The desert of Thalon 9 was quiet that night. Only the wind spoke, whispering through the metal ruins of an old mining station. Ethan Hale, a human engineer, sat alone beside a small fire. His hands were covered in grease, his face tired from another long day repairing broken drones. He lived far from cities, far from war, far from everyone. That's how he liked it, simple, silent, alone. But that night, the silence broke. A sudden boom echoed through the sky. A streak of blue light cut across the darkness. Ethan looked up sharply, his heart thudding. The light wasn't a meteor. It moved too fast, too low, leaving a trail of smoke and sparks behind it. Then came the crash. A violent roar followed by the sound of metal tearing against rock. It wasn't far. Maybe a few kilometers east. Ethan grabbed his torch, threw on his sand jacket, and jumped onto his old hoverbike. The wind bit his face as he sped through the desert, the orange glow of fire appearing ahead. His pulse raced. Crash sites out here usually meant trouble. Pirates, smugglers, or worse, refugees from the alien wars. As he neared the wreckage, the air smelled of burnt metal and ozone. Flames flickered between twisted pieces of silver hull. The ship was small, maybe a scout craft, alien design, with strange curved panels and glowing veins of blue light. He switched off his engine and stepped closer, scanning the wreck with his hand torch. That's when he heard it. A faint sound. At first he thought it was the wind. But then it came again. A small broken cry. Ethan froze. It wasn't human. The sound was soft, trembling, like a child trying not to scream. "Hello?" He called out, voice cautious. "Is anyone there?" No reply. Only the crackle of fire. He pushed through the wreckage, moving metal parts aside. Then he saw movement. A small figure curled up beneath a shattered wing. His torchlight caught pale skin that shimmered faintly blue under the smoke. It was a girl, an alien girl. She looked maybe 10, maybe 12. It was hard to tell. Her arms were scratched, her clothes torn and half-burned. She tried to move but gasped in pain. Ethan saw a piece of metal lodged near her leg, glowing faintly from heat. He knelt beside her. Hey, don't move." "You're hurt." Her eyes opened slightly. They were silver, not like any human eyes he had ever seen. She looked at him, afraid, whispering something in a language he didn't understand. Then in broken English she said one word, "Please." That single word hit him harder than the wind. He looked around. The fire was spreading, the wreck groaning. He had minutes, maybe less. "All right, kid. Hold on," he said, and began pulling at the wreck. The heat burned his hands, but he kept going. The metal finally gave way and he lifted her free. She was light, too light, as if hollow. Her skin felt cold like moonlight itself. He carried her to his bike and laid her across the seat, covering her with his jacket. She was half-conscious, trembling, whispering something over and over. Ethan didn't understand her words, but he understood the fear. He turned the bike around and sped through the night toward his shelter. The desert wind howled past them. The girl coughed weakly, gripping his sleeve as if afraid he would vanish. "You're gonna be all right," he said softly, though he wasn't sure himself. Behind them, the wreckage exploded, a brilliant blue fireball lighting the desert sky. For a brief second, Ethan saw shapes moving in the clouds, dark shadows of ships hovering, scanning. Someone was searching. He pressed harder on the throttle. When he reached his shelter, an old mining bunker built into the canyon walls, he carried her inside, laying her on his workbench. The emergency lights flickered to life, painting the room in dull orange. He checked her leg, bleeding but not deep. The strange wound glowed faintly as if her blood was mixed with light. He cleaned it, wrapped it, and gave her water. She tried to speak again, her voice fragile. "Why? Help me," she whispered. Ethan paused. He didn't have an answer that made sense. He just said quietly, "Because someone had to." Her eyes softened. For a moment, she almost smiled before slipping into sleep. Ethan sat beside her, watching the slow rise and fall of her chest. He should report this. Aliens weren't supposed to be here, not after the ceasefire. The government would pay a fortune for her. But looking at her small, fragile form, he couldn't imagine handing her over to anyone. He sighed, rubbing his face. What did I just get myself into? Outside, thunder rolled across the desert again, except it wasn't thunder. Ethan stepped to the door and looked up. High above, in the clouds, strange shapes moved, silent, glowing, searching. They were not human ships. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. He turned back toward the sleeping girl, realizing something terrifying. Whoever she was, they wanted her back, and they were coming. The morning after the crash was silent. Too silent. Ethan woke to the low hum of his bunker's air filters and the faint light seeping through the metal cracks above. His head ached from the smoke of last night's rescue. For a few seconds he thought maybe it had all been a dream. Then he turned and saw her. The alien girl lay wrapped in his old blanket, still sleeping. Her skin glowed faintly in the dim light, pale blue with a shimmer that pulsed like a heartbeat. Her breathing was slow, steady now. Ethan sat on the edge of the table, staring. "What are you, kid?" he muttered softly. He had seen aliens before, soldiers, traders, the occasional ambassador, but nothing like her. She looked part human, part something else, too delicate to have survived a crash like that. As he reached for his mug, she stirred. Her silver eyes opened slowly, wide and unsure. When she saw him, she flinched, pulling the blanket tighter around her. "It's okay," Ethan said gently, raising his hands. "You're safe here. No one's going to hurt you." She watched him carefully, then spoke in a trembling voice, her words slow and broken. "Where? This? Old mining station," Ethan replied, pointing to the ceiling. "Middle of nowhere. You crashed." "I found you." She blinked, trying to understand. Then quietly she said, "You saved me." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I guess I did." She looked down, touching the bandage on her leg. The wound had stopped glowing, but faint silver lines traced around it like light veins. "What is your name?" Ethan asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Lyra. Lyra," he repeated. "I'm Ethan." Her gaze softened slightly. She tried to sit up but winced in pain. Ethan moved quickly to help her, setting a small metal cup of water in her hands. She looked at it strangely, as if she had never seen a cup before, then drank slowly. The sound of her breathing filled the small room. Outside, the desert was quiet, but Ethan could sense movement, the kind that didn't belong to the wind. He switched on his scanner. The radar blinked faint blue, faint signals, high altitude moving in circles. Someone was searching. He looked back at the girl. "Those ships last night, they were looking for you, weren't they?" Lyra froze. The cup slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Her shoulders shook and her eyes filled with fear. "Please," she whispered. "No, tell them. They find me. They take..." Ethan crouched down beside her. Who takes you?" She pressed a hand to her chest. "My tribe. The mothers. They want me back," he frowned. "Your tribe? Why would your own people want to hurt you?" Lyra shook her head slowly. "Not hurt. Punish. I ran. I not want their law." Her words were broken but full of pain. Ethan could see it. She wasn't lying. There was something deep behind those eyes, something she was too scared to say. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "All right. You can stay here until you're better. No one will find you." She stared at him, confused. "You help, but why?" "I am not human." Ethan smiled faintly. "Doesn't matter. You're alive. That's enough reason." For a moment she said nothing. Then quietly she whispered, "Protector." "What?" She looked up, her eyes shining. "You are my protector." Ethan didn't know what to say. The word felt strange, heavy, like a promise he hadn't made, yet somehow it fit. Hours passed. He repaired the bunker door and adjusted the power generator. Lyra followed him silently, watching every move he made. She was curious about everything. The tools, the lights, even the sound of the wind outside. At one point she touched a small metal carving on his table, a piece of his old Earth insignia. "What is this?" she asked softly. "Badge," he said. "Used to belong to my unit. Back when I fought in the war, you were warrior." He nodded. "Long time ago." Her eyes glowed faintly brighter. "Then you understand. The mothers, they are warriors too." Ethan turned to face her. "Then why are you running from them?" She looked down, her voice shaking. "Because I am different. I cannot fight. I was born with no power. They call me cursed. They wanted to hide me or..." She stopped, unable to finish. Ethan's chest tightened. He understood now. The fear, the loneliness. Before he could speak, a faint ping echoed through the bunker. The scanner again. He rushed to the screen. Dozens of red dots appeared on the map. They were close, less than 5 kilometers away. Lyra saw it too. Her breathing quickened. "They come." Ethan shut down all power, plunging the room into dim emergency light. "Stay quiet." Don't move, they waited. The sound of engines hummed above, vibrating through the metal walls. Sand drifted from the ceiling. Lyra clutched his sleeve, trembling. He held a finger to his lips, eyes scanning the sensors. After long, tense minutes, the signals moved away. The sky grew quiet again. Ethan finally exhaled. They're gone. For now. Lyra looked up at him with wide, tearful eyes. They not stop. They never stop. He nodded slowly. Then we'll just have to be smarter. She looked confused. Smarter? Yeah, Ethan said, giving a small grin. Means I'll hide you so well they'll never find you. For the first time, she smiled. A small, trembling smile, but real. The glow of her skin shimmered softly like the light of dawn. As night returned, Ethan sat beside the door, keeping watch. The desert outside was vast and endless, but somewhere out there, powerful beings searched for the girl now sleeping in his shelter. And though he didn't understand why, Ethan knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to let anyone take her. The sun rose over the Thalen 9 desert in streaks of orange and violet, painting the jagged cliffs with long shadows. Ethan had spent the morning checking his bunker's perimeter, reinforcing weak walls and sealing air vents. Every now and then he glanced at Lyra, who sat cross-legged on the workbench quietly drawing patterns in the dust with her fingers. Her glow was faint in the daylight, but it pulsed slightly with every small movement. Almost ready, Ethan muttered to himself, wiping sweat from his brow. He didn't know what he was preparing for, and only that someone would come for her, and soon. Then the air changed. It was subtle at first, a low hum like wind passing over glass. But it was steady, unnatural, and it grew louder with each passing second. Lyra's eyes widened and she whispered, Ear Ethan stiffened. He stepped outside the bunker, scanning the horizon with binoculars. At first there was nothing but sand and cliffs. Then faint blue lights shimmered on the dunes, moving in formation. Lyra, Ethan said quietly. Stay here. Stay hidden. She nodded, her small hand clutching his sleeve. Ethan watched in disbelief as shapes began to emerge. Tall, slender figures walking in perfect unison, their armor glinting with a faint metallic sheen. The air around them shimmered slightly like heat rising off sand, though the temperature had not changed. They were alien women. Not one, not two, but dozens, maybe 100. Their movements were graceful but precise, almost ceremonial. Each carried a staff or blade that hummed with energy, and their eyes glowed faintly in the desert sunlight. Some had markings along their skin like tattoos, others wore flowing armor that shimmered with light. Ethan's heart pounded. He had expected ships, maybe drones, but not this. Not an entire tribe coming to him. And then he saw her, at the front of the group, taller and more imposing than the rest. Her skin was a deep, luminous blue, her silver hair flowing like liquid metal. She carried a staff taller than most humans. The air seemed to bend slightly around her. She was a queen. Lyra, she called, her voice clear, strong, carrying across the dunes. Lyra scrambled from the workbench, almost instinctively moving toward her. Ethan stepped forward, uncertain. Wait, he shouted. Stop! The queen's silver eyes swept toward him. She raised one hand, not in attack, but in a gesture of pause. The other women froze behind her. The wind carried her voice again. You are the human who saved her, she said. By our law, the protector is honored. Ethan's jaw dropped. Protector? Honored? The queen walked closer, the ground beneath her seeming to glow slightly with each step. Lyra ran toward her but stopped midway, looking back at Ethan. Her eyes pleaded. They, Lyra whispered. They bow? The queen knelt slowly before Ethan, her staff lowering so its tip touched the sand. The other women followed, one by one, kneeling in perfect formation. Ethan froze. This was not a greeting. It was something deeper, almost sacred. You saved the child of our line, the queen said, her voice echoing like a melody over the desert. By the ancient code, you are owed more than thanks. You are now under our protection. No harm shall come to you. Ethan swallowed hard. I don't understand. You do not need to, the queen replied calmly. You acted out of kindness. That is all we require. The women rose slowly, forming a semicircle around him and the bunker. They were warriors, priests, and guardians. Each one's gaze was intense, respectful, and alert, as if they were measuring him, testing his soul. Lyra approached Ethan slowly, her small hand brushing his arm. They call you their honored one, she said softly. Ethan shook his head. I'm just a man. I fixed machines. I saved a kid. That's all? The Queen studied him for a moment, then nodded. Perhaps in another world that would be enough. But here your action binds you to us. You are our bridge between worlds, human and ours. You are our protector, and we will teach you what that means. A gust of wind swept across the desert, lifting dust and sand, swirling around Ethan and Lyra. The women stood silent, watching, glowing faintly in the sunlight. Ethan felt the weight of centuries of tradition, the expectation of a people who owed their very lineage to the life he had saved. Does this mean I can't leave? He asked finally, his voice low. The Queen smiled faintly, almost sadly. You may leave, but you will find that the desert itself will guide you back, if you truly wish to honor her life. Lyra hugged his arm, pressing her cheek against him. Ethan looked down at her, his heart aching with responsibility he hadn't asked for. Guess we're not alone anymore, he muttered. Lyra nodded, eyes shining with relief. Not alone, she whispered. For the first time since the crash, Ethan looked out across the desert and didn't feel fear. He felt awe. The tribe's ships, small gliding crafts, hovered silently above the dunes. The women began unpacking supplies, setting up small tents, and creating a camp near his bunker. Ethan realized they had come to stay, and he realized with a mix of fear and wonder that his life had changed forever. The Queen approached again, placing a small glowing crystal in Ethan's hand. This is for you. It will guide you when danger comes. It will warn you, protect you. As long as you keep it, we keep our vow. Ethan turned it in his hand. A soft warmth pulsed from within, almost alive. He looked at Lyra, then back at the tribe, and finally whispered, All right, I'll do what I can. And in that moment, under the alien sun with a girl who trusted him and a tribe who revered him, Ethan understood something. He was no longer alone in the universe. He had become a part of something much bigger. Somewhere deep in the dunes, a faint hum of energy echoed. The desert was alive, and the story of a human and an alien girl had only just begun. The evening sky over Thalon 9 glowed like molten gold, fading slowly into deep purple. Ethan watched from the edge of his bunker as the alien tribe moved with quiet precision across the desert. Their camp had grown since their arrival, shimmering tents of crystal and metal, small braziers lighting the space with soft blue flames, and guardians patrolling the perimeter. The hum of alien energy filled the air, subtle, constant, and strangely soothing. Lyra sat beside him on the sand, her legs tucked beneath her. She had grown quieter since the tribe's arrival, speaking only in whispers. Ethan didn't mind, the silence between them was comfortable. She traced patterns in the sand with her fingers, glowing faintly with each motion. Ethan sighed. They're impressive. Lyra's silver eyes glanced up at him. They'd respect you, she said softly. Even the others. They bow. I don't understand it, Ethan admitted. I saved you. That's all. Why would they worship me? She shrugged. Not worship. Honor. Protector. Before Ethan could reply, a soft glow appeared behind them. The Queen approached, her steps deliberate and graceful. In her hand she carried a small object, a gift, shimmering faintly with light. This is for you, she said, her voice calm but powerful. A gift of trust and of guidance. It will help you see dangers you cannot yet perceive. Ethan looked at it closely. It was a crystal, roughly the size of his palm, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. When he touched it, warmth spread through his hand. A tiny vibration hummed beneath his skin, almost like it was alive. What does it do? He asked cautiously. The Queen smiled faintly, a gesture that seemed almost human. It is a guardian crystal. It senses threats, tracks movements near you, and can guide you to safety. But its true power lies in intention. Only one who acts with care and courage may fully wield it. Ethan turned it over in his hand, marveling at the gentle pulse of energy. I don't know if I deserve this. You do, the Queen said simply. Because you saved the child. And because you chose kindness when no one else would. That is courage. Lyra's hand brushed against his. He deserves it, she whispered. Her eyes shone brighter, and Ethan realized her glowing skin reflected her emotion. Happiness, pride, and relief all mixed together. The Queen motioned for Ethan to follow. Hesitantly, he stood, keeping one hand on the crystal. She led him into the center of the camp where other women had gathered. Each one held objects, gifts, simple tokens, and tools of their craft. The air vibrated softly with energy as they placed them around Ethan, forming a circle. "These are for you as well," the Queen explained. "We offer guidance, sustenance, and protection. You will learn our ways if you choose to accept them. You will not be alone." Ethan looked at the circle of objects. A small glowing blade, a woven fabric that shimmered like liquid, a tiny orb that contained light, warmth, and movement inside. Every gift seemed magical yet practical. Every gift seemed to say, "We trust you." "Why? Why all this?" Ethan asked, still unsure of his place here. The Queen knelt slightly, meeting his gaze. "Because in saving Lyra, you became more than a man. You became part of our story, and our story will now become part of yours." The hum of the camp shifted, almost like it had a heartbeat of its own. Ethan felt it in his chest, a rhythm that matched the glowing pulse of the crystal in his hand. He realized then that the tribe's reverence was not blind. It was recognition of something deeper: courage, compassion, and the willingness to act when others would hesitate. Lyra tugged gently at his sleeve. They like you," she said shyly. "Even me, they treat me better because you saved me." Ethan knelt beside her. "I didn't do it for that, I couldn't leave you there. That's all." She smiled faintly, almost shyly. "But you did. And now?" Her glowing eyes met his, filled with wonder. "Now they protect you too." A soft breeze stirred the desert sand, carrying the scent of alien flowers and heated metal from the campfires. The Queen placed a hand lightly on Ethan's shoulder. "You will not be alone in the nights to come. You will have guidance, knowledge, and protection. But you must understand our law is old and it is strong. Your actions carry weight. Decisions now will shape not just your life, but the life of our line." Ethan's stomach tightened. He had not expected this. He was not a king, not a soldier, not a leader of any tribe. Yet here he stood, gifted, honored, and bound by trust he didn't ask for. What does it mean?" he asked quietly. "It means," the Queen said, rising and lifting her staff, "that you are no longer just a man in the desert. You are a protector, and our world, our people, are now part of yours." Lyra leaned against him slightly, her head resting on his arm. Ethan felt a strange warmth spread through him, a mix of responsibility, fear, and awe. He had saved her life, and in doing so had stepped into something far bigger than he could have imagined. The Queen turned to leave, motioning for the others to follow. Her glowing eyes met his one last time. "We will watch. We will guide. And when the time comes, you will understand what is required of a protector." Ethan looked at Lyra, then back at the desert horizon. The sun dipped lower and the camp's glow shimmered brighter in the dusk. Somehow he knew the nights ahead would be filled with challenges, tests of courage, choices that could not be undone, and dangers he could not yet see. But for the first time since he found her, he also knew one thing: he would not let anyone harm her. The crystal pulsed softly in his hand, and Ethan realized it was not just a gift. It was a promise that he had accepted whether he wanted it or not. The desert was vast, the tribe was powerful, and the story of the human and the alien child had only just begun. The next morning, the desert sun rose pale and sharp, reflecting off the tribe's crystal tents and glowing armor. Ethan woke to quiet footsteps on the sand. Lyra was already awake, kneeling beside him, her silver eyes alert. "They are coming," she whispered. "The mothers," Ethan frowned. "The mothers?" Lyra nodded. "The women who lead. They teach. They judge. They control everything." Ethan's stomach tightened. Since the arrival of the tribe, he had understood little of their customs. He knew only that they revered him, honored him. But now he would learn why. A horn sounded across the desert, long, low, and vibrating through the sand. Ethan stood, shielding his eyes. In the distance, more figures appeared, moving in formation, taller, older women this time. Their skin glowed deeper blue, and their armor was lined with golden veins of energy. Each carried long staffs, symbols of authority, etched with glowing runes. "They are the elders," Lyra said quietly. "The law of our people, you will meet them today." Ethan swallowed hard. He had expected attacks or maybe questions, but not this. He had no idea what the law of an alien tribe entailed, or what he had done to fall under it. The elders approached, forming a semicircle around Ethan and Lyra. Their eyes measured him, scanning his posture, his expressions, even the way he breathed. The lead elder stepped forward. Her face was lined with wisdom and authority, her voice firm, echoing in the quiet desert. "You humans saved Lyra of the bloodline," she said. "By the code, you are bound to our law. You are now Protector. Protector carries responsibility. Protector owes allegiance. Protector's choices affect us all." Ethan's pulse quickened. I didn't ask for this. I just saved a child." The elder's eyes narrowed slightly. "The child is not merely child. She is heir. She carries our future. Your action was noble but binding. You cannot undo it." Lyra tugged at his sleeve. He doesn't understand," she whispered. The elder studied him closely, then gestured toward the circle. Other women brought objects, weapons, artifacts, ceremonial robes. They placed them on the sand before Ethan. "These are the symbols of law," the elder explained. "Every protector must learn our ways. Strength, honor, judgment. You are not free. You are watched. You are judged. You must act carefully, or our wrath will find you, not for punishment, but for balance." Ethan looked at the objects, then back at the elder. "Wrath? I didn't do anything wrong." "You are not human to understand fully," another elder said. Her voice soft yet firm. "You act outside our world's law when you save. That is good, but you are now linked. Every act you take will ripple through our tribe." Ethan felt the weight of her words. Saving Lyra had been simple, a choice of life over death. But in this world, simple choices carried deep consequences. He realized that nothing would ever be simple again. The lead elder stepped closer. "We watch not because we distrust you, but because your actions matter. You will learn our ways, our laws. You will live among us as protector. Your loyalty will be tested. Your heart will be tested, and the tribe's fate may rest in your hands." Ethan glanced at Lyra. She nodded slightly, her face calm but serious. She had warned him of their laws, but seeing them unfold was different. I don't know if I'm ready," Ethan admitted. "I'm just a man. I fix machines, I survive." The elder's gaze softened for a moment. "Protector is never fully ready. But you acted. That is why you are here. That is why you are honored. That is why you are bound." A soft wind carried their words across the desert. The elders motioned for him to follow. Ethan hesitated, then glanced back at Lyra. She touched his arm. "You saved me. You belong with us. You must learn." Together they walked toward the tribe's central tent. Inside, the walls glowed faintly, inscribed with symbols and moving lights. It was a place of counsel and judgment. Ethan felt small, human, and fragile. Yet he also felt a strange sense of awe, as if he were standing at the heart of the universe itself. The elders sat in a circle. "You will be taught," the lead elder said. "Taught the laws, the rituals, the duties of a protector. Every moment, every decision matters. You cannot turn back. And know this, enemies watch. Not all are enemies you can see. Danger will come both from outside and within. The tribe will guide you, but only if your heart is true." Ethan nodded slowly. "I understand. I think. Think is not enough," the elder said. "Act, protect, honor, learn. The bloodline depends on it. And remember, a protector is more than man. You will carry our trust, and one day you may carry our future." Ethan swallowed. He had never been responsible for a life beyond his own. Never for a people, never for a future. But now, the alien girl he saved, Lyra, was more than just a child. She was the heir, the hope of her tribe, and he was her bridge to survival. He looked at her, glowing faintly in the soft light. Her eyes met his. There was trust, hope, and expectation in them. And Ethan understood. The law of this tribe was not just rules. It was a path he could not leave, and in that moment, he made a silent promise to himself and to Lyra. No matter what, he would protect her, he would honor the law, and he would survive the trials to come. Because failure was not an option, the desert outside seemed still. But Ethan knew it was waiting to test him, to challenge him, and to reveal the true meaning of being a protector. The desert dawn was red with fire. Ethan woke to a distant rumble, low but steady, vibrating through the sand beneath the tribe's camp. The guardians had already raised their staffs, and the women moved with silent precision, their glowing eyes scanning the horizon. "They are coming," Lyra whispered, her small hand gripping Ethan's sleeve. Her voice trembled, but her posture was firm. Ethan followed her gaze. Across the dunes, a line of human soldiers appeared, armed, armored, and advancing fast. They had tracked the alien signals from the night of the crash. Their intention was clear: capture the tribe, take Lyra, and leave nothing behind. Stay close, Ethan muttered. We fight together. The Queen, Ma'ara, stepped beside him, her staff pulsing with energy. Her eyes scanned the advancing soldiers. You act wisely, human. But remember, the law of the tribe binds you. Protect, yes, but do not strike first. Defend and honor the bloodline. Ethan nodded. He had never led warriors before. He had never faced a battle like this. Yet, for Lyra, for the tribe, he felt the courage rising in his chest. The first volley of plasma fire lit up the dunes. Ethan rolled behind a boulder, narrowly avoiding the blast. Around him, the alien women moved with astonishing speed, deflecting fire with energy shields and returning their own precise strikes. The desert became a symphony of sound. Explosions, the hum of energy, the clash of weapons, and the shouts of humans fighting for control. Ethan realized quickly that he could not merely survive. He had to lead. He spotted soldiers trying to flank the tribe from the left. Pointing and shouting, he directed the Guardians to intercept them. Using the terrain to their advantage, the alien warriors created narrow paths for the soldiers, trapping them between glowing blades and energy shields. Lyra ran to him suddenly, her small form moving faster than he expected. She raised her hands, emitting a soft blue light that formed a protective shield around him. Ethan's heart pounded. She was stronger than he had realized. Not just a child, she was the heir, carrying power that could change the course of the battle. Lyra, he shouted. Careful. Her eyes met his, filled with determination. I protect you, protector, she said simply. The soldiers faltered, confused by the glowing girl in the center of the desert. The alien tribe pressed forward, their weapons humming, their chants growing louder, almost musical. Ethan felt a strange energy flow through him as he held the guardian crystal in his hand. It pulsed rapidly, sensing danger, guiding him, showing him where the enemy would strike next. A soldier broke through the outer line, running toward Lyra. Ethan didn't hesitate. He grabbed a metal rod and hurled it, striking the soldier's armor. Sparks flew and the soldier fell. Around him, other humans began retreating, unsure how to face both Ethan and the alien tribe. Then, in the chaos, a massive explosion erupted nearby. Ethan shielded Lyra, pressing her to the ground. When the smoke cleared, Queen Ma'ara had fallen. Blood stained the sand, her breathing shallow. Ethan's stomach twisted. He ran to her side. Ma'ara! He shouted. The tribe's warriors formed a circle around them, fighting back any approaching enemy. The queen looked up, her silver eyes locking with Ethan's. You were the bridge. We feared not, she whispered, her voice weak. You saved more than a life. You saved us, all. Ethan shook his head. No, you will survive. You have to. She smiled faintly, her hand brushing his arm. Lyra will lead. You get. Her protector. Her voice faded, leaving only the whisper of the desert wind. Lyra's glow brightened suddenly, pulsing across the battlefield. She lifted her hands, releasing a wave of energy that threw the remaining soldiers back. The tribe surged forward, driving the humans away in a controlled, precise counterattack. Ethan watched, awestruck, as Lyra stood in the center of the sand, radiant and commanding. She wasn't just a child anymore. She was the heir, the next queen, and she looked to him, trusting him, needing him. As the last human soldiers fled over the dunes, Ethan knelt beside Lyra. You saved us all, he said quietly. She shook her head. We saved together. You fought with us. You protected me. Ethan glanced at the desert horizon. Smoke and dust lingered in the air, but the camp was safe. The tribe gathered around, tending to the wounded and repairing their defenses. They looked at Ethan with respect, awe, and gratitude. The weight of his role as protector pressed on him more than ever. He held the guardian crystal in his hand, feeling its warmth and hum. It had guided him, warned him, and now it pulsed with calm, steady energy, as if approving of his actions. Lyra placed her small hand over his. Protector, you must stay with me, always, Ethan nodded. He had promised to protect her. He had promised to honor the law of the tribe. And now after the battle he understood fully. Being a protector was not just about saving lives. It was about courage, trust, and sacrifice. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the desert in deep red and gold. Fires burned in the tribe's camp, and the wind carried distant whispers of the desert. Ethan knew this was only the beginning. There would be more challenges, more dangers, more choices that could not be undone. But for the first time he felt ready. For Lyra. For the tribe. For the path he had chosen. He was not just a man in the desert anymore. He was their protector, and the story of the human and the alien heir had only just reached its turning point. The desert of Thalon 9 was quiet once more. Dawn broke slowly, spilling golden light across the dunes and painting the crystal tents of the tribe in soft hues of pink and violet. The battle was over. The human soldiers who had attacked had fled, leaving only traces of smoke and footprints behind. The tribe moved through the camp, tending to the wounded, rebuilding damaged tents and quietly mourning the loss of those who had fallen. Ethan sat on a low dune, watching the sunrise. His hands were blackened with dust and sand, his clothes torn from the fight, and a small cut ran along his forehead. Yet for the first time in days he felt something unfamiliar. Calm. Lyra approached slowly, her steps silent, her glowing skin dim in the soft light. She knelt beside him, her silver eyes reflecting the rising sun. "Protector," she said softly. Ethan looked at her, still tired but relieved. "Yes," she smiled faintly. "The tribe. They are safe. Because of you. Because of us." "Together," he nodded. "We did what we had to, but it wasn't easy." Lyra reached for his hand. Her touch was warm, almost grounding. "You are not like any human I have known. You fought. For us, for me. Even when danger was greater than your fear." Ethan swallowed, looking down at her small hands in his. He had never considered himself a hero. He was just a man who had acted when he had no choice. But seeing her, seeing the tribe now recovering and alive, he realized that sometimes courage wasn't about being strong. It was about being willing to act when it mattered most. From the center of the camp, a soft hum grew louder. Ethan looked up to see the tribe gathered, forming a circle around him and Lyra. Queen Ma'ara's body had been tended to, and she sat regally on a raised platform, her staff beside her. Her eyes, still luminous despite her injuries, met Ethan's. "You have fulfilled your role as protector," she said, her voice carrying across the silent dunes. "But a new chapter begins. Lyra is heir now. She will lead. And you, human, will remain by her side as guardian, counselor, and bridge between worlds." Ethan felt the weight of her words. He had not expected this. A place among the tribe, a life intertwined with alien law and alien people. And yet, he did not feel fear. He felt purpose. Lyra stepped forward, her small hand resting on the crystal staff that symbolized her lineage. Her glow pulsed gently, brighter than ever. "Protector," she whispered, "will you stay?" Ethan looked at her, then at the tribe who had trusted him, honored him, and now expected him to continue standing by their heir. He nodded slowly. I will stay. I will protect you. I will honor the law. And I will help you lead." A murmur went through the tribe, a mix of approval and relief. The guardians and warriors bowed slightly, their eyes glowing faintly, acknowledging him as part of their world. For the first time, Ethan felt that he truly belonged somewhere, not because he was asked to, but because he had earned it through courage, compassion, and the choice to act when it mattered. The desert wind stirred, carrying the faint scent of burning metal and alien flora from the campfires. The dunes shimmered under the rising sun, reflecting the glow of the tribe and their new unity. Ethan looked around. For years he had lived in solitude, believing he was alone. Now he understood the meaning of connection, responsibility, and honor. Queen Ma'ara stepped down from the platform and approached him. She placed a hand lightly on his shoulder, her gaze steady and sincere. "Your courage saved lives. Your heart protected the future. That is more than law can demand. That is what it means to be human." Ethan felt a strange warmth, not from the sun or the glowing crystal in his hand, but from the acknowledgement of his choices, his actions, and the trust of those he had sworn to protect. Lyra stepped beside him again. "Protector," she said softly, "we will face challenges. Others may come, danger may return, but together we are strong." Ethan looked at her, her small hand still in his, her silver eyes full of hope and determination. "Yes," he said quietly, smiling faintly. "Together we are strong." The desert stretched endlessly before them, but for the first time it no longer felt lonely. Ethan stood and looked at the horizon. The dunes glimmered with the tribe's energy, the glow of their magic mingling with the warmth of the rising sun. Somewhere out there, enemies might still lurk. Somewhere out there, the universe waited to test them again. But now he was ready. He had a purpose. He had a bond. He had a role that transcended fear, distance, and doubt. He was protector, human guardian and ally of an alien people. And Lyra, the child he had saved, now queen, would lead her tribe into a future shaped by courage, hope, and trust. Ethan glanced down at the crystal in his hand. It pulsed gently, a heartbeat in sync with his own. He knew that it would guide him, warn him, and remind him of the responsibility he carried. As the sun climbed higher, the tribe moved through the camp, preparing for the day ahead. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side looking out over the dunes. The desert was vast. The world was unpredictable. But for the first time, Ethan felt a quiet certainty. He was exactly where he was meant to be. The wind whispered through the dunes, soft and steady, carrying with it the voices of the tribe. And Ethan knew deep in his heart that no matter what challenges came next, he would face them, for Lyra, for the tribe, and for the bond that had changed his life forever. The new dawn had arrived, and with it, the story of a human, an alien child, and a tribe bound by honor, law, and courage reached a beginning rather than an end.